All right. In this episode, we're going to show you how to go from zero to $30,000 a month online using Shopify. We're going to talk about three things that you need to be constantly doing and constantly improving on in order to get to that goal. And we also have a freebie for you. So if you're listening to this, make sure you stick around so you can get that.
This is the Marketing Natives, providing actionable ways to grow, improve, and succeed in your business. And now, your hosts, Christian and Aaron.
All right, so if you're looking at this as a 0 to 30,000 and you think this is kind of a daunting feat because you're literally just starting a website from zero and you're like, okay, I just want to make my first sale. I want to clarify and say that to go to 30,000, this is not going to happen like in a couple of days. This is like, if you were to look at it, I would say, all right, Christian, if you're going to go from 0 to 30,000, here's like a 90-day or like a couple of 5-month plan. You know, if you're just literally starting a brand new site, here's how you would do it. So I think this is a good podcast episode for people who are just starting, obviously from zero, and want to get to that sustainable, that $30,000 per month and beyond. And I believe that once you get to $30,000 per month, the reason we chose that number is that that's such an easy number at that point to kind of like catapult yourself to that next level. So if you're just starting out, don't worry, this is not meant to be overwhelming. You're thinking, oh, dang, I better grab my notes, and you should, but it's not, hey, you need to do 30,000 next month. It's a progression, and it probably will not happen to 30,000 the next month. It's like, okay, let's build this up over time. So I think that's kind of a way to approach the episode, so you can like use it as bite-sized pieces versus, oh, dang, I'm going to try to go after something huge right now.
Yeah. So I think the first thing is like a lot of people, I think there might be two camps, right? You have the drop shipping community who probably do know their numbers very well, right? And that's probably, I would say, majority of what they focus on is their numbers, and making sure that makes sense, because drop shipping people, I feel like they just kind of want to make money, right?
Right.
They don't really focus a lot on the product. And then the other camp of people is, like your mom and pop shops, or maybe you have a really great idea and you need to, start selling online. And these are people who are more focused on the product. Right?
They love their product.
Yeah, they think don't. That. I mean, and they probably do have a great product, right? And they probably have a great following at their mom and pop shop, locally. But they're just starting to delve into online selling, and they don't necessarily know their numbers very well. I would say maybe majority, but that's just not the case with everyone. And I think that's the very first thing is like, you need to have a good understanding of your numbers, and you need to have a really good product, obviously, that people are actually going to buy. So understanding your numbers, I mean, there's a lot of different numbers, right? But it's basically, you want to know how much you can spend per purchase, right? Because another thing that we're going to talk about is going to be paid traffic, right? So, how much money can you actually spend on marketing in order to still make money and still sustain your company? So that's like one of the number one things that you need to be looking into. It's like, again, you have a great product, you're finding ways to sell online, but to be honest, like the first thing that you need to figure out is, how much money can you spend in order to break even or make money, right? I mean, the goal is to, make money. So knowing those numbers is crucial to starting this journey from 0 to 30K.
Yeah, like we're about to jump on a call with a client who doesn't know her numbers very well, like to the point where, her product was the same to ship something that was 3 times the amount of weight versus something that was 1 times the amount of weight. And she decided to do free shipping over $50. Well, what she realized was that, okay, if it's a $50 item to ship it, or to purchase, let's just say it's $50, and she has 100% margin. So she made $25 off of it, okay? But then what she realized is that, okay, this one product costs 3 times as much to ship, and so it's going to cost me $20 to ship. And then I just spent in advertising, let's just say they spent $5 in advertising to acquire the customer. Well, now I just broke even. Like literally, I just broke even. I actually probably lost money because you got to factor in like everything else that goes on to it. So, and even if, let's just say the 50% or the 100% margins also included advertising, she still would have only walked away with $5. But if you don't understand your numbers, you would have looked at that and I've been like, hey, Christian, look at this. So we got a $5 purchase and they spent $55 because of taxes and everything. So they spent $55 and we spent $5 to acquire them. That's a $50 net. But then you look at, okay, what is our cost of overhead? How much does it cost to ship? Like cost of goods sold, like the packing materials, time, everything. So if you don't factor those into it, it's like, okay, you run into an issue of, oh, dang, I went from super profitable where I made $50 to, oh, wow, I'm negative. So how can I adjust either my pricing or my shipping or whatever whatever the answer is. But if you don't understand your numbers, you could make $20,000 per month and still lose $21,000 or $22,000. So that's just an example of like, if you don't understand your numbers and you're getting to it, like starting out at zero, I would say like if you were selling, making $2,000 per month or $3,000 per month and you're listening to this podcast, and you don't see it as much because you're like, well, we don't know our numbers, but we're only making $3,000 per month. It's going to take a while. And as we make more money, then the margins will get smaller. But then it's like, it doesn't work out that way. So again, the point of understanding your numbers, your shipping cost, the cost of goods sold,
apps.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's different apps to use. Some are free. Shopify you got to pay for, emails to pay for. So there's a lot of factors. And I think one thing to figure out also is how much does it cost you to acquire that customer? So the first time that they come, it's going to be the most expensive. But if they come back twice, so say for example, in that same story, if she lost $5, but she knows that every 2 or 3 weeks somebody's going to buy again, then she's going to make money because even though she doesn't have to pay for advertising, because she's just going to send an email or whatever else, and they'll come back and purchase. And she knows at that point, oh, they're going to come back 3 times. So now instead of worth $50, they're worth $150, and you'll happily spend $5 for a purchase for them to do it 3 times. So that story could easily turn around to be a happy one if you know your numbers.
Right. Don't we have a calculator or something to offer?
Yes.
Our listeners?
Yeah. Woo. Yes. It's a free like Google document or Google Sheets calculator. So if you want that, there'll probably be a break in here too. We'll talk about that. But if you want that, just go over to Instagram at BitBranding and just shoot us a message, and we'll just send you the link. And you can just use the calculator and punch in your own numbers. And it's all based off of kind of like Shopify. So yeah, how much is your average order value? So like if you've sold anything, like even $100 worth, like you should have enough data to forecast, as I would say, to figure out what you need to do, which is plan for your cost of goods and everything like that.
Yeah, cool. And then, so after knowing your numbers, I think obviously we're alluding to, some sort of paid traffic. But there's also the idea of always testing, right? Always testing almost everything, right? Like, testing your ads, testing things on the website, testing things on your email, testing things on these numbers that, we're just figuring out and coming up with creative solutions on how to maybe lower some of those numbers, make those numbers a little bit higher. And I think you had an example here of like, if you're testing something on the website for example, with video, right? Product images versus not video images, but videos
right.
For the products, on how much that would affect, buyer behavior. Same with, on our previous episode, we talked about social proof and having an app that shows whenever someone's purchasing that particular product, and providing social proof that way. And I think it's very important to always be testing your ads, always be testing things on the website, even different apps that do maybe the exact same thing. I can think of like apps that do pop-ups, right? Just doing regular kind of random pop-ups throughout the website, or doing intentional pop-ups on, exiting the checkout page, for example.
Yeah.
And testing different headlines, testing images. I think it's very important to always be testing, especially. Yeah, I mean, I think we talked about this in the previous episode. It's kind of weird. I don't remember reading this. But yeah, I think in order to scale to that, you have to stay sort of on top of trends, kind of, and seeing what other people are doing as well as far as their shopping experience, and even seeing what Amazon is freaking doing.
Yeah, copy Amazon.
Yeah. You see different things that Amazon tests. Obviously, you might not have the money to do some of the things that they do, but there are alternatives as far as apps and things that you can do on the website, or even the messaging that they use right after you purchase something, like little things like that.
Their abandoned cart stuff is amazing.
Yeah.
So yeah, we even mentioned episode 177 a lot. That's a really good episode for you to go back to, like finish listening to this one and then go back to the other one, because like Christian mentions, like social proof. We talk about the importance of driving traffic and really kind of nurturing it. But yeah, I think the testing part of it is just a small section for this episode. The previous episode is all about what you should be testing, or the things that you need to drive traffic or drive more sales. And those are the things that you could be testing. For example, like this last weekend, we had a client, well, I guess it was about 3 or 4 weeks ago, like our client, we used a lot of, she's been doing really well on Instagram, so I had a decent amount of following. And she, for whatever reason, just kept posting the same thing. She may be like shadow banned right now. I don't know what she did, but she lost a lot of traffic. And because of that, our strategy had to change, because we're like, okay, well, this is losing a ton of traffic to this campaign. So since we're getting like a third of the amount, actually, I think it was like a tenth of the amount of less traffic, we had to test something new. Now, granted, it wasn't something new because we had done something before, but we just turned it off. We're like, all right, we have to go look at the account, what had done well before, looking at our numbers, which is, again, knowing your numbers. And we were just testing like, okay, well, what if we go back to this campaign? What if we rebuild it? And since then, it's done really well because we weren't dependent on that one thing that like Instagram that was driving the traffic. But if we weren't testing or like trying different things in the past, we would have kind of been like, all right, well, we have to, again, test from the beginning. If you're starting from zero, you always want to just be testing, because you never know what's going to click or what's going to work. So as long as you know your numbers and like how much you can spend, you can be testing things. And as long as you're testing, you can figure out what works. But for this client, it turned out to be a good situation, but we can't be dependent on like what yesterday's results were, because that may change, to your point about like things changing with times. Like, well, all right, well, Instagram was a huge driving traffic source, but now they changed their algorithm. So we lost half of the traffic to the website. So what are we going to do? So always be testing new things, and always like never, I guess the other word for this is, instead of continue to test, is like, don't be complacent with where you're at. Because if you're like, oh, my site's good, I got so much traffic, and you're like, well, you have 90% of your traffic from one source. Like, what happens to that one source if it goes out? So I think that's just a good example of just continuing to test, no matter what it is. Could be organic traffic, could be influencers, no matter what it is. Hey, local business owners, if you're ready to grow your business online without having to work more in your business and you can spend more time on it, we created a free training on how to attract, qualify, and convert more leads online. It's 38 minutes. It's going to take a little bit of your time, but it's going to have a huge benefit. It's completely free. Make sure you click below in the description, whether you're on Facebook, whether you're on YouTube, whether you're on the podcast, everything's there that you need. Go grab the training now.
I think we had this happen recently where Facebook targeting options changed.
Yeah. Yes.
And we had to change a lot of our campaigns because of that.
I was just talking to Facebook today. They're like, oh yeah, they flagged it. They flagged our campaign because it was like a calendar. I actually found out, I thought it was something else. They flagged it because it said book more appointments, and like it's a calendar icon that we use as an emoji. And they flagged it for some reason. And I've been fighting with them for like 3 weeks to get it turned back on. So then finally just talked to this very nice guy named Dean today. The shout out Dean from Facebook, who's definitely listening. And he's going to help like put in a manual review for it. But it was 3 weeks. So like if our whole business was dependent on whether or not we got these leads, I'd be freaking out right now, because that's that one source. But yeah, they flagged it for a a calendar icon. There's no policy, but there's so many ads going, and it's fourth quarter, and so just be aware of this if you're running paid traffic, which is probably a good segue, is that they use AI to scan these things, and so it looked like some kind of like something that was against their policies, which was not.
Yeah, so I think I mean the next thing, and obviously we've mentioned it already multiple times, is paid traffic. I don't think there's. I mean, obviously there's some outliers and unicorns out there that do make 30,000 without any paid traffic. You know, maybe they somehow go viral, which it's impossible, I guess, to intentionally recreate or create. You know, I would say impossible because it's just. I mean, the odds are against you. If you're intentionally trying to make something go viral. Sure, you can try your best, but you're probably not going to succeed. And that's why, I mean, paid traffic is the way to go if you want to, make money online using Shopify. You think back on, I mean, any brick and mortar store at some point, they have used paid traffic, right? Whether using billboards, magazines, whatever they've done, you have to spend money on marketing in order to make money. You have to pay to play.
Yeah.
And it's the same with Shopify and any online store out there. You have to take into consideration that some of your budget will have to go into some paid traffic sources, whether it's Instagram, Facebook, Pinterest, Twitter, influencers, SEO. There's a lot of different ways to get to that 30K. Obviously, paid traffic is the idea, but from there, where do you take that? There's a million things that you can do there, and I think the number one thing before you do that is having those systems in place, having the follow-ups, having the strategies sort of completed and followed through. Having a proven strategy would be even better. Instead of you starting from scratch and trying to figure everything on your own and seeing what's actually going to work. Grabbing something that's already proven with maybe in a different industry doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work, but it's worked for different industries, so it could work for yours. And it might be that it's working, but it could be tweaked, to make it work better for that particular industry. So I think using something that's already been proven to successfully make some money is a good way to start there.
And I was going to say, like, look at paid traffic as like the last thing that you do, even though it should be like the first thing, like to grow the business, in the sense that like it's the fastest way to do it. But if you don't have, example, like on our last episode 177, we talked about site speed. And again, just go check that episode out. But we talked about site speed. So if you have a new website, but it's just bogged down because you decided to upload all of your images, like super, like high megabytes, is like, they're super heavy on the site. Well, if you put paid traffic there and you have an amazing product, it's still not going to work because the website won't load. So there's so many things you have to do to make sure that the sites that you're going to perform well, and then put paid traffic to it. So again, understanding your numbers, important, so you can be profitable, testing what works, and then more so after you've completed all of those things and you get the right like pieces in a row, then you can do paid traffic, start running advertising, do things like Facebook or Instagram ads, whatever else. But if you don't, then it doesn't matter if you're going from 0 to 10K or 0 to $100, because nobody's going to be able to purchase. So I guess the way to look at paid traffic is it's literally just gasoline to an already burning fire. So you got to have the other stuff before you just start running ads. And I think that's why ads get a bad rep, or rap, I guess is what the term is, because they're like, oh, ads don't work. But it's really like, have you ever used them before? And is your product actually good? Because it could be that you don't have the right ads, yes, so there's a problem there. But more than likely, it's the part after that. Like, you just have a really bad experience. For example, the you talked about before, and I guess the previous episode, go check out 177 again, is the guy who targeted you, or the company that targeted you on Instagram. You just didn't have the best experience with them, so they spent paid traffic, and they probably wasted money. So I think that is like the final thing to do to get you to 30,000.
Yeah, and that's why I think going back to having a system or having something that's proven, or going with someone who have done this before, they can point you into those holes in your bucket that are they're leaking water. And I think for a lot of our prospects that come in and they're like, oh yeah, we need to do ads, like we need to do marketing. We say like, whoa, let's check out your website. Okay. Let's check out your numbers.
Right.
Okay. And if there's holes in that bucket, right, or in those areas, then we usually recommend something completely different instead of going through paid traffic, right? We usually tell them like, okay, we need to fix this website.
Yes.
We need to make this website
almost
faster.
Always the website.
We need to make the checkout experience a lot better. We need to implement email before we do, any of this paid traffic. Because it's just going to be a waste us sending you all this traffic, and then people are just not going to convert because you're missing a lot of different pieces. So there's a lot of times that happens where we need to have those things in place. And in order to know that, again, go with someone who knows what they're doing, has done this before, and knows what it takes to get from that 0 to that 30K.
I think that's a good point. And if you're listening to this episode and you're like, well, you didn't give me tactical advice, like go do this. Like there is no, let's just say like there is no magic wand, like one size fits all for everybody. But if you look back at it and like, or listen to the episode, it's if you understand your numbers on how much you can spend and how much it costs you for your products and services, it's probably going to be your hardest part because, more like Christian said, you're either in two camps. You're the drop shipper listening here, and you're like, okay, how do I do that? Or you're the person who's a brick and mortar, you love it, or you have a good Instagram following, which, to be fair, the amount of Instagram followers you have does not mean the amount of business you will make. That's just kind of a misnomer. But understanding your numbers will help you whenever you're building that store and growing online. And then if you test what already works, and then you put paid traffic behind that, that really will take you to that 30,000. We just brought on a client who had never done paid traffic before, or if they did, they boosted some posts, and they are well on their way to doing $30,000 per month, but they know their numbers. They have had a proven system for what's going to, for shipping, their offers. They already had everything in place, and they focused on those things. And now they contacted us because like, hey, look, we know you guys have, you've helped other people in the past. And we talked to them about a proven system, as you mentioned. And then it was just easy, a plug and play, like, hey, this will work for you too, because you figured out these things. And because you figured them out, now we really can help with paid traffic and emails and abandoned carts and stuff like that. And it really can catapult you to that 30,000 so much faster. So yeah, it's not that you can't get there, quote unquote, on your own, but go and find somebody who's done it before, who has a proven process to get you there faster. And that way you don't have to, learn all the mistakes that everybody else did. It's just why hit your head up against the wall kind of thing.
Exactly. Yeah. Learn from others' mistakes.
It's rule number one. All right. So as Christian mentioned, guys, if you want that free calculator, it's, we don't have a direct link yet, but there will be a link before the episode. So just click below, whether you're on YouTube or the podcast, it will be linked below. Or you can message us over on Instagram and just say, hey, give me that free, we call it a ROAS, so return on ad spend calculator. So how much can you spend and still be profitable in your business, all things considered. So if you want that for free and you want to start using and figure out your numbers in your business, shoot us a message on Instagram or click the link below. All right. And if you've been listening for a while, please make sure to go over to Apple Podcasts, leave us an honest rating and review, and let us know, hey, what would be better about this podcast or what you love about the podcast now. This helps us reach more people, and it helps us to create better content for you. And if you are a first-time listener, whether you're on Apple Podcasts or whether you're on YouTube or watching online, please make sure that you subscribe so that you don't miss out on any of our new episodes. We put out content every single week, every single Monday. And if you've been listening to us or watching us on YouTube, we put out multiple videos per week on how to help you grow your local business online.
The Marketing Natives Podcast is a production of BitBranding.